I bought a luxury home, but my daughter and her husband kicked me out on housewarming day. My name is Chandler, and at 68 years old, I never thought I would be sitting at a bus stop with nothing but a small bag after buying my dream home. For 45 years, I built houses for other families, while dreaming of the perfect place for my own. I used my entire life savings to create that dream for my daughter Sophia and her family. What I never expected was that during our housewarming party, they would cruelly show me the door. Let me know where you are watching from and hit that like and subscribe button before I share how I lost everything but gained something far more valuable in return. I started working construction when I was just 18 years old. My father had been in the same line of work, and though he encouraged me to go to college, I had always felt most at home with tools in my hands creating something tangible. There was an honest pride in looking at a house at the end of the day, and knowing families would build their lives inside those walls. For 40 years, I had my own family by my side. My wife Amanda was the love of my life. We met when I was working on a project near her parents' neighborhood. She used to bring lemonade to the construction site, and I would pretend to be thirstier than I was, just to talk to her for a few extra minutes. We married after just 6 months of dating. Everyone said we were rushing, but when you know, you know. Amanda passed away 7 years ago after a brief but brutal battle with pancreatic cancer. 40 years of marriage ended in just 4 months from diagnosis to her final breath. I held her hand as she slipped away in our bedroom, in the modest home we had shared for most of our lives. The house felt empty after that. Too big for just me, yet too small with all the memories crowding every corner. Our daughter Sophia was our only child. Amanda had complications during her birth that prevented us from having more children, but Sophia was enough. She was our world. As a little girl, she would follow me around with her toy hammer, insisting on helping with home repairs. I built her a treehouse when she was 8 that became the envy of the neighborhood. We were close, Sophia and I, especially after Amanda died. Or at least I thought we were. Things began to change when Sophia married Derek. He was a corporate lawyer with an impressive education and family connections. From the beginning, there was something about him that made me uneasy. Nothing I could point to specifically, just the way his smile never quite reached his eyes when he looked at me, or how he would subtly correct my grammar during family dinners. Small things that made me feel like my blue-collar background was something shameful in his presence. My grandchildren were the bright spots in my life after Amanda was gone. Jack, 12, had my mechanical mind and was always taking things apart to see how they worked. Lily, 9, had Amanda's artistic touch and would spend hours drawing elaborate houses she planned to build someday. I cherished the weekends they would stay with me in my small apartment, but those visits became increasingly rare as Derek's career took off and their family social calendar filled with events in their affluent circle. After retirement, loneliness became my constant companion. The transition from working 60-hour weeks surrounded by my crew to sitting alone in my apartment watching television was jarring. Construction had been my identity for so long that without it I felt adrift. My body, worn from decades of physical labor, finally had time to rest, but my mind was restless. That is when the idea came to me. What if I could use my savings to buy a family home? Something large enough for Sophia, Derek, the grandkids, and me to all live together. It would solve my loneliness and give the grandchildren the chance to grow up with their grandfather present in their daily lives. In my mind, it was the perfect solution for everyone. I found it during an afternoon drive through an upscale suburb of Boston. A beautiful colonial revival with 5 bedrooms, a spacious yard with mature oak trees, and even a detached workshop perfect for my woodworking projects. The moment I saw it, I could picture Jack climbing those trees lily painting at an easel in the sunroom family dinners in the formal dining room. It felt right in a way nothing had since Amanda died. The asking price was steep $750,000, nearly every penny I had saved. Between the sale of the family home after Amanda passed my retirement fund and the modest inheritance from my parents, I could just manage it. It would mean no financial safety net, but what was money for, if not to bring family together? I invited Sophia to see the house carefully, not mentioning my plan, until she had walked through it and fallen in love with the crown moldings and hardwood floors. When I explained my idea, her initial reaction seemed genuinely enthusiastic. "Dad, this is amazing," she had said, hugging me tightly. "The kids would have so much space here, and that third-floor suite would be perfect for you. Private, but still part of the household." We discussed the arrangement over dinner that night. I would buy the house outright, no mortgage. They would handle the utility bills and property taxes going forward. It seemed like a fair division given their dual professional incomes compared to my fixed retirement funds. Derek insisted on having his firm draft a legal agreement. "Just to make everything clear and protect everyone," he explained smoothly. When he presented the 20-page document filled with legal jargon, I should have been more careful. I should have hired my own attorney. Amanda had always handled those sorts of things, the paperwork and fine print of life. Without her, I felt out of my depth, but too proud to admit it. I signed where Derek pointed, too excited about our new family arrangement to worry about details. The house would be in all our names, he explained, for inheritance and tax purposes. It all sounded reasonable enough at the time. The next few months were a flurry of activity. I sold my apartment, liquidated investments, and emptied savings accounts. Everything I had built over a lifetime of hard work was poured into this dream. I even took an early distribution from my IRA, paying the penalty because the house seemed worth it. During the renovation process, I was in my element again. Though my knees protested and my back ached each night, I worked alongside the contractors, drawing on decades of experience to ensure quality work. I took particular pride in the projects I completed myself. Custom bookshelves built into the alcove of each grandchild's room. A garden arbor reminiscent of the one from Amanda's childhood home. A window seat in the master bedroom, where Sophia could read as she had loved to do as a child. As the move-in date approached, I noticed Derek becoming increasingly controlling about decisions. The paint colors I suggested were deemed outdated. The kitchen appliances I recommended based on years in construction were overruled for more expensive models with features nobody would use. Each time, Sophia would give me an apologetic look, but ultimately side with her husband. "Derek has such good taste, Dad," she would say, "and he has researched everything so thoroughly." I bit my tongue, reminding myself that compromise was part of family life. The important thing was that soon we would all be together under one roof. The tension would fade once we settled in, or so I told myself. The first major red flag appeared during a visit to the house while the contractors were installing the kitchen cabinets. I arrived to find Sophia and Derek speaking with the realtor who had sold us the property. They did not notice me entering through the side door. "Property values in this neighborhood are projected to increase 15% over the next 3 years, the realtor was saying. "With the renovations you are making, you could easily list this house for over $1 million by then." "That is exactly what I told Sophia," Derek replied. "This is an investment, not just a home. Her father actually did us a favor without realizing it." They laughed, and I stepped back into the mudroom, my heart pounding. I told myself I had misunderstood. Derek was just being practical, thinking about the financial aspects, as he always did. It did not mean they were planning to sell the house out from under me. When Jack and Lily visited the construction site, their excitement was palpable. Grandpa, can you help me build a robot in your workshop? Jack asked, eyes wide with possibility. Will you teach me how to use real tools? Can my room really be purple? Lily wanted to know. Mom always says purple is too dark for a little girl's room. Their enthusiasm contrasted sharply with their parents' behavior. Whenever the children expressed excitement about living with me, Sophia or Derek would quickly interject. We will see about the workshop, Jack. That space might be better used as a home gym. Purple is still under discussion, Lily. We need to consider resale value. Resale value. The term kept coming up even though we had just purchased the property. My old friend Frank came to help me install some lighting fixtures one weekend. Frank had been on my crew for 20 years before starting his own electrical business. After the work was done, we sat on the porch steps drinking beer from the cooler he had brought. This is someplace, Chandler, he said, whistling low. But are you sure about this arrangement, living with your daughter and son-in-law? I showed him the paperwork Derek had drawn up. Frank frowned as he read it, his expression darkening. Chandler, this agreement gives them a lot of control. Have you had your own lawyer look at this? I admitted I had not, and Frank shook his head. Amanda always took care of that stuff, right? She was sharp with details. You might want to have someone check this before you move in, just to be safe. His concern planted a seed of worry, but I pushed it aside. This was family, not a business transaction. Surely Derek's legal precautions were just his professional training showing through, not anything sinister. Gloria, my neighbor from the apartment building, expressed similar concerns when I was packing up to move. She was a widow herself, about my age, who had become a good friend over coffee in the building's common room. Chandler, are you absolutely certain about giving up your independence? She asked. Moving in with adult children can be complicated. My sister did it and regretted it within 6 months. This is different, I insisted. I am buying the house. If anything, they are moving in with me, not the other way around. Gloria did not look convinced, but she helped me pack my books anyway, carefully wrapping Amanda's favorites in tissue paper. When the doubts became too persistent to ignore, I finally confronted Sophia during a private moment at the new house. The moving trucks were scheduled for the following week. Sophia, honey, I just want to make sure we are all on the same page about this house, I began carefully. This is meant to be a permanent home for all of us, right? Not just an investment property. Her eyes widened in what looked like genuine surprise. Of course, Dad. This is our forever home. Derek and I are so grateful for what you are doing for our family. The kids are over the moon about living with their grandpa. Her reassurance seemed sincere, and the knot in my stomach loosened. I was being paranoid, letting Frank's and Gloria's warnings make me suspicious of my own daughter. The stress of such a big life change was getting to me, that was all. The housewarming party was entirely my idea. I wanted to celebrate this new chapter with friends and family, to fill the house with laughter and good wishes from the start. I spared no expense on the catering decorations and drinks, wanting everything to be perfect. I invited my old construction crew neighbors from my former apartment building, cousins from upstate, and Amanda's friends, who had kept in touch after her passing. Sophia added their friends' colleagues and the children's school acquaintances to the guest list. The week before the party, I created a memory wall in the front hallway. Photographs chronicling our family history, from Amanda's and my wedding day, through Sophia's childhood, her wedding to Derek, and the grandchildren's births and major milestones. I wanted everyone who entered to see the love and history that had led to this moment. As a special gift for Sophia, I had restored an antique jewelry box that had belonged to Amanda. It had been damaged in our move after Amanda died, and I had put it aside, unable to bear fixing something she had treasured while my grief was still so raw. Now it seemed like the perfect housewarming gift, a piece of her mother to accompany Sophia into this new phase of life. The day before the party, tension bubbled to the surface when Derek reviewed the guest list one final time. "I am not sure about inviting your construction friends, Chandler," he said, his tone carefully neutral. "This is an upscale neighborhood, and first impressions matter." "Those men helped build this town," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "They have known Sophia since she was in diapers." "Of course your close friends should come," Sophia interjected quickly. "Derek is just thinking about space constraints." But it was more than that, and we all knew it. Derek did not want my blue-collar friends mingling with his law partners and golf buddies. I swallowed my pride and agreed to trim my guest list, telling myself it was a small concession for family harmony. As the party approached, Sophia became increasingly distant, always busy with some preparation detail that needed her attention. When I offered to help, she would smile distractedly and say everything was under control. Our conversations became brief and superficial, a stark contrast to the excited planning sessions we had shared when the idea of the house first took shape. The evening before the party, I overheard a conversation between Derek and his father in the den. I had come downstairs for water and paused outside the partially open door when I heard my name. "The old man is not part of the long-term plan, Dad," Derek was saying. "This arrangement is temporary until we figure out something more appropriate for someone his age." "You have to be careful with these situations," his father replied. "Make sure all the paperwork is airtight." "Trust me, it is. Law school had to be good for something." They laughed, and I retreated silently up the stairs, telling myself I had misunderstood or taken the comments out of context. The alternative was too painful to consider. Despite the growing knot of unease in my stomach, I focused on the excitement of the next day's celebration. Everything would be clearer better once the house was officially a home. The morning of the housewarming party, I woke early and made my grandmother's special breakfast casserole a tradition for important family occasions. I set the dining room table with care, using the good dishes Amanda and I had received as wedding gifts and rarely used. No one came down to eat. Derek had taken the children out for breakfast at their favorite cafe. Sophia was busy with her hair appointment. My carefully prepared meal sat cooling on the table as I ate alone, the first of many disappointments that day. By noon, the catering team had arrived, transforming the kitchen into a hive of activity. I stayed out of the way, focusing instead on final touches in the living room and entryway. I arranged fresh flowers that matched the colors Amanda had always favored and made sure the memory wall was perfectly lit. The first guests arrived promptly at 3. Frank came early, bringing a handmade wooden welcome sign for the front porch. Gloria brought a potted plant for the sunroom. I greeted them warmly, playing the proud host as I showed them around the house. "You did good, Chandler," Frank said, admiring the craftsmanship of the renovations. "This place is rock solid. Good bones, like you always say." I beamed with pride, eager to show him the workshop I had set up in the detached garage. As we walked through the kitchen, Derek intercepted us. "Chandler, the Prestons just arrived. They are very important clients of the firm. Could you greet them while Sophia and I finish getting ready?" His tone made it clear this was not a request, but a directive. I nodded, abandoning the tour to return to the foyer. Throughout the next hour, the pattern repeated. Whenever I began showing my friends the special features I had created, or telling stories about the renovation process, Derek or Sophia would appear with some urgent task that needed my attention elsewhere. As the house filled with guests, I noticed Derek guiding his colleagues and friends on tours, referring repeatedly to our investment and our house. Each time the words jabbed at me, but I told myself he was just being conversational. The breaking point came midway through the party. I was describing to Amanda's best friend Janet how I had designed the garden arbor based on Amanda's childhood home when Derek interrupted. Actually, Chandler, I think you have misunderstood some things about the house, he said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Perhaps we should clarify who really owns this lovely property. A hush fell over the immediate area. Janet looked uncomfortably between us. I think I will get another drink, she murmured, squeezing my arm before walking away. What are you talking about, Derek? I asked, keeping my voice low. We discussed this arrangement for months. I bought this house for all of us. Yes, and we appreciate your contribution, he replied with the condescending smile I had grown to dread. But legally speaking, the house belongs to Sophia and me. The agreement you signed was quite clear on that point. My heart pounded in my ears. That is not what you told me when I signed those papers. You said all our names would be on the deed. If you had read the documents carefully, you would have seen that was not the case, Derek replied smoothly. Now let us not make a scene at our housewarming party. Dazed, I excused myself and climbed the stairs to the third-floor suite I had believed would be mine. The room was empty of my belongings. Confused, I checked the closets and bathroom. Nothing. I hurried down to the basement and found my clothes books and personal items stacked haphazardly in the small room next to the furnace. My furniture was nowhere to be seen. When I returned upstairs, Sophia was waiting in the hallway, her expression a mixture of guilt and determination. "Dad, can we talk privately for a minute?" she asked, ushering me into the home office. Once the door closed behind us, the truth came pouring out. The legal agreement I had signed had indeed put the house entirely in their names. My role was officially that of a family guest, with no ownership rights whatsoever. The third-floor suite I had thought would be mine had been repurposed as a home office for Derek and a craft room for Sophia. "We thought it would be better for you to have a room on the ground floor," she explained, not meeting my eyes. "For your knees, the steps would be too much for you." "My things are in the basement, Sophia, next to the water heater." "That is temporary," she assured me quickly, "until we can convert the sunroom into a proper guest suite for you. It will take a few months, but it will be lovely when it is done." Before I could respond, Derek entered with a stack of glossy brochures which he placed on the desk between us. "We have been researching some excellent senior living communities," he announced as if this were a perfectly normal conversation to have during a housewarming party. "Many of them have wonderful amenities, Chandler. Swimming pools, game nights, people your own age to socialize with." I stared at the brochures in disbelief. Sunrise Acres Retirement Village, Golden Years Senior Living, Peaceful Pines Assisted Care. They had been planning this all along. This was never about creating a family home, was it? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. This was about getting me to shut you a house you could not afford on your own. "Dad, that is not fair," Sophia protested weakly. "We just think this arrangement might not be the best for everyone long term. You need proper care." "Proper care? I built half this house with my own 2 hands just months ago." Derek cleared his throat. "I think we should continue this discussion after our guests leave. In the meantime, I have announced that you will be staying with us temporarily while exploring more appropriate living arrangements for a man of your age and health status. You told our guests that without discussing it with me first." "It seemed the simplest explanation," he replied with a shrug. "Most people assumed this was our house anyway." I looked at my daughter, searching for any sign of the little girl who had once followed me around with her toy hammer. "Sophia, is this really what you want, to send me away after I gave you everything I had?" For a moment I thought I saw doubt in her eyes, but then Derek placed his hand on her shoulder and she straightened her spine. "It really is for the best, Dad," she said softly. "We can help you find a nice place. You will make friends, and we will visit often with the children." In that moment, something inside me broke. And yet, strangely, another part became clearer and stronger than it had been in years. I did not make a scene. Decades of working through injuries on construction sites had taught me how to compartmentalize pain. I nodded once, then left the office without another word, my mind already shifting to what needed to be done. I went first to the memory wall, carefully removing the photographs that held true significance to me. My wedding photo with Amanda. Sophia's 5th birthday, when we had built her a princess castle in the backyard. The last Christmas before Amanda's diagnosis, when we had all been blissfully unaware of what lay ahead. I left the rest, including all the photos that prominently featured Derek. Next, I went to the basement and retrieved my small suitcase, packing only the essentials. Clothes for a few days, toiletries, Amanda's wedding ring that I kept in my wallet, the pocket watch my father had given me when I turned 18. I left behind furniture, appliances, tools, everything I had accumulated over decades of working and saving. None of it mattered now. As I packed, Sophia appeared in the doorway of the basement room, tears streaming down her face. "Dad, please do not leave like this," she pleaded. "Stay tonight at least. We can talk more tomorrow." "There is nothing left to say, Sophia. You and Derek have made your position quite clear." "We never meant to hurt you," she said, wringing her hands. "Derek says this is what is best for everyone. The housing market is so good right now, and with your health concerns—" "What health concerns?" I interrupted. "I have arthritis from 45 years of physical labor. That does not make me an invalid. Derek says preventative planning is important. His grandmother ended up in a terrible nursing home because they did not plan ahead. Always, Derek says. I barely recognized my daughter anymore, this woman who could not seem to form an opinion without her husband's approval. Your mother would be heartbroken to see what you have become," I said quietly. The words hit her like a physical blow. "That is not fair," she whispered. "None of this is fair, Sophia. I gave you everything I had because I trusted you. That was my mistake." Derek appeared behind her holding a checkbook. "Chandler, let us be reasonable about this. We are prepared to provide a monthly stipend to help with your living expenses. In exchange, we would appreciate your discretion about this unfortunate situation. No legal entanglements." He was trying to buy me off. The final insult. "Keep your money," I told him. "I managed before you came into our lives. I will manage now." I closed my suitcase and moved past them up the stairs. In the main hallway, Jack and Lily spotted me and ran over, oblivious to the tension. "Grandpa, where are you going?" "The party is not over," Jack said, grabbing my hand. "Did you see the cake? It has our new address on it," Lily added excitedly. I knelt down to their level, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I have to go away for a little while, but I will see you both very soon. I promise." "But you live here now," Jack protested, confused. "You built my bookshelves." "And my window seat," Lily added. Derek stepped forward, placing his hands on the children's shoulders. "Grandpa needs to rest. We will explain everything later. Say goodbye for now." They hugged me tightly, and I memorized the feeling, unsure when I would experience it again. "I love you both," I whispered. "Never forget that." As I walked toward the front door, several guests noticed my suitcase. Frank stepped forward, concern etched on his face. "Chandler, what is going on?" "Change of plans, Frank. I will not be living here after all." Janet and Gloria exchanged worried glances. "Where are you going?" Gloria asked. "I have not figured that out yet," I admitted. "Let me drive you somewhere," Frank offered immediately. "No, thank you. I need some air and time to think." And with that, I walked out the door of the house I had poured my life savings and heart into, leaving behind everything except the bare essentials and the memories that mattered most. I walked 6 blocks to the nearest bus stop and sat down heavily on the bench, my suitcase at my feet, utterly alone and with no idea where to go next. I do not know how long I sat at that bus stop. Long enough for the sun to set and the streetlights to flicker on. Long enough for 3 buses to come and go, their drivers giving me questioning looks that I ignored. I had nowhere to go, so why board a bus to take me there? The sound of a truck pulling up roused me from my thoughts. Frank's battered blue pickup stopped in front of the bench, and he leaned across to open the passenger door. "I figured you would be here," he said simply. "Get in." Too exhausted to argue, I climbed into the truck, my suitcase between my feet. Frank did not speak as he drove, giving me the space I desperately needed. He took me to his house, a modest ranch-style home he had shared with his wife until her death 2 years earlier. "Guest room is made up," he said as we entered. "Bathroom is across the hall. We will figure things out in the morning." I slept surprisingly well that night, the deep sleep of someone who has lost everything and therefore has nothing left to fear. When I woke, Frank was already in the kitchen making coffee and eggs. "Start eating," he instructed. "We have a busy day ahead." By noon, word had spread through my old construction crew about what had happened. They arrived at Frank's house one by one, each bringing something useful. Miguel brought a spare laptop. Tony arrived with clothes his brother had outgrown that were my size. Jim, my former foreman, brought the name of a lawyer who specialized in elder law and real estate. "This is not right, Chandler," Jim said firmly. "What they did might technically be legal because of what you signed, but it is fraud by deception. You need to fight this." The lawyer, a formidable woman named Patricia Winters, agreed to meet with me that afternoon. She reviewed the paperwork, her frown deepening as she turned each page. "This agreement was clearly designed to mislead you, Mr. Williams," she said. "The language is deliberately confusing, and several clauses contradict verbal assurances you say your son-in-law provided. There are grounds for a lawsuit based on fraudulent misrepresentation and possibly elder abuse, given the exploitation of your finances." Elder abuse. The term made me flinch. I was 68, not 98. But in the eyes of the law, I qualified as an elder who had been taken advantage of by family members. "I do not want to sue my daughter," I said after a long silence. "Then what do you want?" Patricia asked directly. It was a simple question with a complicated answer. I wanted my money back. I wanted my daughter to be the person I thought I had raised. I wanted my grandchildren not to be caught in the middle of an ugly legal battle. I wanted justice without destroying what remained of my family. "I want enough back to start over," I finally answered. "Not everything, just enough for a small place of my own and some security for the future." Patricia nodded. "We can work with that. A demand letter outlining the facts and offering settlement terms rather than immediate litigation might be effective. Your son-in-law is an attorney. He will recognize the legal jeopardy he has put himself in both professionally and personally." Over the next week, I stayed with Frank while Patricia prepared the necessary documents. My old crew rallied around me, offering temporary work to keep my mind occupied. Miguel helped me set up a basic email account so I could stay connected. The solidarity reminded me of job sites where we had faced dangerous conditions together, each man looking out for the others. Meanwhile, Sophia had been calling Frank repeatedly, trying to reach me. I was not ready to speak with her, yet too afraid of what I might say in anger. But I did send a brief email letting her know I was safe, if only to prevent her from filing a missing person report. To my surprise, Gloria from my old apartment building showed up at Frank's door on the 4th day. "Janet told me what happened," she explained. "I have been worried sick about you." She had brought homemade soup and fresh bread, insisting that men never remember to eat vegetables. Her practical kindness brought the first genuine smile to my face since the housewarming disaster. After she left, Frank gave me a knowing look. Gloria always had a soft spot for you, you know. I dismissed the idea, but found myself thinking about her that night. About her warm laugh and no-nonsense attitude. About how she had warned me about this very situation and had not once said, "I told you so," when it came to pass. 2 weeks after the housewarming party, Patricia's demand letter produced results. Derek called her office requesting a meeting. He arrived without Sophia all business in his expensive suit. "This situation has gotten out of hand," he began. "We never intended for Chandler to feel unwelcome. There have been misunderstandings on all sides." Patricia cut through his corporate doublespeak. "My client provided $750,000 for a home he believed he would partially own and live in permanently. Instead, he found himself relegated to a basement room and presented with assisted living brochures during what should have been a celebration. Those are not misunderstandings, Mr. Phillips. Those are deliberate acts of deception." The meeting ended with Derek agreeing to return $300,000 to me, far less than I had invested, but enough to purchase a small house in a modest neighborhood. In exchange, I would sign a non-disclosure agreement and release any claims against them regarding the property. When I expressed hesitation about the terms, Patricia was frank with me. "You could get more through a lawsuit, but it would take years, drain you emotionally, and damage your relationship with your grandchildren irrevocably. Sometimes justice takes different forms. This settlement gives you a fresh start without a prolonged battle." I signed the agreement the next day, watching as Derek wrote the check with a barely concealed scowl. Not once did he apologize or express remorse. His only concern was keeping the situation quiet to protect his professional reputation. With the settlement money, I was able to purchase a small 2-bedroom house just 3 blocks from Jack and Lily's school. It needed work, the kitchen was straight out of 1975, and the bathroom plumbing required immediate attention, but the bones were good, as we used to say in the trade. More importantly, it was mine with no hidden clauses or legal trickery involved. Frank and the crew helped me move in and tackle the most urgent repairs. Gloria organized a modest housewarming gathering, nothing like the elaborate party at the other house, but infinitely warmer and more genuine. The most unexpected development came 2 days after I moved in. I was in the front yard assessing what landscaping would be needed when a familiar minivan pulled up. Sophia stepped out, her face pale and determined. "Dad," she said simply, not moving closer. "Sophia." I continued raking leaves, unsure what else to say. "The kids miss you terribly," she offered after an awkward silence. "They keep asking when they can see you." "They are always welcome here," I replied, gesturing to the house. "So are you, for that matter." She looked at her feet. "Derek does not know I came today." That single sentence told me everything about the state of their marriage, about the control he exerted over her life. For the first time, I felt a flicker of pity alongside my hurt and anger. "You are a grown woman, Sophia. You do not need his permission to visit your father." "It is complicated," she whispered. "It really is not," I countered. "What happened was wrong. You know it was wrong. The question is what you are going to do about it now." Tears filled her eyes. I let him convince me it was the right thing for everyone. That you needed professional care we could not provide. He said the house was too big for us to afford, without selling it later for profit, and that you would understand eventually. "And now, what do you think now?" "I think I lost sight of who I am," she admitted. "Of who you raised me to be." It was not an apology, not yet, but it was a start. I put down my rake and took a step toward her. "Would you like to come inside? I just made coffee." She nodded, and we walked into my new home together, the path to reconciliation stretching uncertainly before us. Over the following months, a new routine developed. Jack and Lily would stop by my house after school twice a week while Sophia ran errands. I never asked if Derek knew about these visits, and she never volunteered the information. It was an unspoken arrangement that allowed the children to maintain their relationship with me without directly challenging Derek's authority. I began teaching neighborhood kids basic carpentry skills in my garage workshop on weekends. Their parents were grateful for the free instruction, and I found purpose in passing on knowledge accumulated over decades. Jack joined these sessions whenever he could, proudly showing off to the other children that the teacher was his grandfather. Gloria became a regular visitor, bringing baked goods and gradually staying longer each time. 6 months after moving into my new home, I finally worked up the courage to ask her to dinner. Her delighted acceptance sparked a relationship neither of us had expected at our age. "You know," she said one evening, as we sat on my front porch, "sometimes the worst betrayals lead us exactly where we need to be." Looking around at my small but happy home at the neighborhood, children waving as they rode bikes past my yard, at the woman beside me who valued honesty and directness, I had to agree. The final piece of healing came unexpectedly nearly a year after the housewarming disaster. I was having Sunday dinner with Frank and his family when my phone rang with a call from Sophia. "Dad," she said, her voice tight with emotion, "Derek and I are separating. He has been having an affair with a paralegal at his firm. I just thought you should hear it from me first." I listened as she poured out her pain and confusion, offering support without judgment. When she finally paused for breath, I asked the question that mattered most. "What can I do to help Sophia? Could the kids and I stay with you for a little while just until I figure things out?" "Of course," I said without hesitation. This has always been a home for family. 2 days later, they arrived with suitcases and tear-stained faces. As I helped carry their bags inside, Jack looked up at me with serious eyes. "Grandpa, are we going to be okay?" I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the loss, the rebuilding, about how the house I had dreamed of had nearly destroyed me while losing it, had ultimately saved me, about how true family transcends walls and deeds and legal documents. "Yes," I told him with absolute certainty, "we are going to be more than okay. Home, I have learned, is not found in granite countertops or crown molding or square footage. Home is built on trust, respect, and genuine love. It is the people who value you for who you are, not what you can provide them. It is the place where you are never asked to be less than yourself to accommodate someone else's greed or pride. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover what truly matters." Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you rebuild your life afterward? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about finding strength after betrayal. Share this with someone who might need to be reminded that starting over is possible at any age. Thank you for listening. And remember that your dignity is never something you should sacrifice even for family.